There's a lot to cover, but I guess the more we cover, the more juicy it'll be. And okay. Okay, so today is Rosh Chodesh. Today's Rosh Chodesh Elul. So one of the things that is important going into the Yom Neroim is of Rosh Hashanah Kippur is to whenever we did not get along with someone during the year, to make up and get along again. So there's something in the late 1700s. There was a big machlokes, a big argument between the rabbis of Germany and England. Okay, so we know that. Okay, let's start with some part of the story, and then we'll see what was going on. So, in 1766, you can see on the first page, there's just a summary of the whole story, but there's really a lot more to it. But someone named Itzik from Mannheim married married his wife Leah of Bonn. So before the Shabbos before the wedding, the whole family of Leah came to Mannheim, where the wedding was going to be. So there was no signs yet of Itzik being not of sound mind. He seemed completely normal. He seemed completely normal and full of his senses. And
hello. Excuse me, sorry, we were just in the middle of the share.
Hello.
Fine. Okay, so I guess this is a good way for me to start. Okay, so it's hard for me to keep track. Okay. So before it was there was no sign of anything going wrongly. But then the Shabbos before, the Shabbos of Ufruf, he started getting, he had a fit. He got angry, and no one could figure out why he was getting angry. What happened? And then after a while,
You're in the camera. Rabbi.
And then he so during the Ufruf, he got the Aliyah. He was totally fine. But then after the Ufruf, he got angry at his parents because he was supposed to have part of the house set aside for him and his future wife. But his parents did not give that part of the house yet. So he was having a temper tantrum. But then after his parents said that, okay, you could get that part of the house, then he calmed down. That was one episode, yes. But then it was totally fine. He got to the wedding. The wedding was totally fine. He said his pilpul. He said a whole piece of Torah, and which was well received. He went back home with his wife. Everything was fine. Then Shabbos of the Sheva Brachos, in the middle of Shabbos, he took his the dowry, which was 96 gold coins, and he ran away. was on Shabbos. Then so they're trying to find where he was. They got some non-Jews to go find him, and they found him 4 hours away. About 4 hours away, in a farm, in some farm, sitting there with his. He was very saddened about what he did. He still had all his money, the whole dowry was there. They brought him back, and fine. So then he comes back, and he starts mentioning to people that he needs to leave the city. He needs to run away from the city because the government is out to get him. He can't stay in that city. So, and at the same time, also the families of the parents got into argument about who's going to be paying the money for the newlyweds. So finally, they came up with that the newlyweds are going to move to the Kala's parents' house. And so the chassan was very happy because now they're going to move out of that city and the government will not get it crazy. Fine. So now they're going on the way to the other city. They stay in an inn, and then when someone finds out that they're from the original city of Mannheim, that they were just in that wedding, one of the workers said, "Oh, are you that guy that ran away during Sheva Brachas?" And then he got angry again. He had a whole fit, and it took a few hours till they calmed him down. And then they finally then after a day or so, he asked one of his family members. He wanted to speak to him in private, and he told this person that he needs to run away to England. And he got into a fight with his wife. His wife doesn't like him. So he needs to run away to England, but he doesn't want to keep her as an aguna. So he wants to divorce. He wants to give a get. But then they have to go. But then in this city there was no bezdin, so they had to go to a different bezdin. So they went to a bezdin on the way to England. This guy, the chassan, was going to go through Holland, so they went to the city of Cleves. And over there, the bezdin, the bezdin found the Rav of the Av bezdin asked him a lot of questions about what was going on, why he should be giving why does he want to divorce his wife, etc. And then finally, he said they gave him a get, and he ran away to England. So now the chassan's parents found out about this. They didn't know any of this, because this was all as he left to the Kala side, to the Kala city. So the father was claiming that it was because the part of the get, which had to do with the money, the Kala got a big percentage of the money, not the chassan. And the chassan was totally fine with it. But the father of the chassan got really angry, so he went to the rabbi of his city, saying, "Hey, they're taking advantage of him. He was having some episodes of that he wasn't of sound mind, and then now they're going to go give him a get, like there was no get in the first place." So the rabbi of his city, the rabbi of Mannheim, went to the bezdin of Frankfurt, which at that time was like the greatest bezdin of Germany, and the bezdin of Germany said that the get is not valid because there were so many instances to show that he wasn't of sound mind, so there was no way to claim that at the time that he was giving a get, he was of sound mind. So therefore, we have to wait till the chassan comes back and is better, and then he could give a get. But till then, the kala cannot remarry. She's still married. So imagine what happens. So let's go through the source sheet to figure out what's the halachic basis. What does it mean being of sound mind? What is the halachic claim that is a shota, and why is it even important? And how could it be that sometimes someone is a shota and someone is not? Okay, so let's go on the first page. This is the Mishnah and Gemara in Gittin. It says, that someone Misha Oksu Kurdaikus, someone that has, the Mishnah says, someone that's afflicted with Kurdaikus, and he says, write a get to my wife. It's as if he didn't say Loyam Klum, he didn't say anything. So the Gemara says, what is this Kurdaikus? Omar Shmuel, that it's when someone drinks wine straight from the barrel. So it's on such, and Rashi explains that being that he's so drunk from this wine, it's any of his words is of no effect. So even though he said, "Oh, give my wife a get," it's as if he didn't say anything because he wasn't of sound mind. He wasn't. He didn't have das at the time. And then in the Rambam, it takes from this Gemara. It says, "Mi shahisa ruach ra miva'eshes oisei v'omar kishizko by ha'cheli kisvu get l'ishti loyam ha'klomu ha'dakim k'peino u'miyushav." So if someone's mentally disturbed at the time that he requests for the get to be written for his wife, it's as if there's no effect because of the get is of no effect because he was not lucid and he wasn't rational. And then also this is brought down in Shulchan Aruch, Nebuchadnezzar, that tzarich sheyeh b'daiti b'shah shemitzav lekosvel tlichov im achzer ruach ra b'shah shemitzav lekosvel ein kosven oisvei afilu l'kshei yubari. So if someone is depressed while he is, ruach ra means melancholy, but it's kind of depression. If someone has a ruach ra while he's asking for the get to be written, so they don't write the get, and not even that, even when he gets better, it's still not, they still don't write a get.
But the din is not if somebody doesn't want to give get, but then hire two bandits, they beat him, and actually get he said, I want to give the get.
Right.
So you can do it.
That's a different story.
But that's when he's of sound mind. But that is a good question. That's a good question. Yeah, that is true. But that's when the reason for that is because in essence a yid always wants to do what he wants. So it just needs to be revealed. But if someone is not, there's no way of revealing. I'm guessing the difference is that someone that's of not sound mind, if someone is drunk, when someone's saying it, it's not really okay. So now let's get right. So that's very something interesting because if we're saying that he was scared, he was paranoid about the government, so that seems like he's not completely in his sense. He has control over his senses, and then he has anger management issues. I mean, this is way before any mental.
But what the government is to do?
Obviously, manic depressive.
I mean, it's hard to diagnose. Like
Yeah, but what the government has to do?
Podiatrist, I mean, it just seems
right from the information that we
obviously, I
have.
don't know for sure. I mean, but I'm just saying. But the fact is, that when you're in a manic state, you're still able to be rational.
But then
Not so simple.
right. But then in halacha, but the question is, does halacha can we prove that at that time he was lucid at that time? So that's how halacha.
What else?
Right. But
Also, the wife. The
that's
wife
also we'll get there. The wife was very righteous, and also this Abezin of Frankfurt was looking at it in a way that let's be machmer because we don't know for sure what's going on. Let's just wait till he comes back, because from the information that we have, it's hard to say that it's completely fine. But let's get. But then
That's
the
at
Frankfurt.
the expense of the wife, though. At the expense of the wife, they were being machmer. The wife had to suffer for it.
Right, but on the other, that's very true. But on the other hand, also, if for whatever reason halacha would say that it is not a divorce, then any children that is from the second marriage is a problem. Whatever, but you're right. Yes.
No, but I have another question. I'm sorry for that. If he's running from the government, what is the problem to write the get and finish? Run, it's okay, but write the get, finish, and take your wife out, and that's it.
Because if he's
Why
not
they
of
said
sound mind,
because-
he can't write the get. He's not of sound mind.
So let's get there. Let's go to the second page. We'll get.
Could you just did you tell us what the Corticaios?
Oh, it's a type of. It's a type of very strong wine.
Okay. Well, I just think it's always more precise. It seems like some of these other things, like the Rabbi and Shota, you have to read into what it's saying, right? It's like, well, Ra, in that, I mean, you could say this about people you see all the time.
Right, very good. And we'll get there.
But Corticaios, it sounds a little bit more precise, right? It's like,
Right.
maybe just because it sounds boring, I don't know. But,
Right, but very good. That's a good observation, and we'll get there because the Gemara that we never like here. So defining what a shaita is. V'nefesh kisech. Okay, so in the whole point of when someone says that a person needs to be of sound mind in something with regards to halacha comes from edus, from testimony, from someone that is obliged, has a mitzvah to testify when he says this. So on page 2, Vayikra 5:1. V'nefesh kisechta v'shama koil ola v'u'eid oiro oyoda imlo yagid v'nosavoy. So if a person sins, whereby he accepts an oath and he is a witness to some matter by seeing or knowing it, yet he does not testify, he shall bear his transgression. So if someone sees something that might make someone into a sinner, so this person has to go to the Beis Din and testify. So now the Tosefta, which is kind of like on the level of a Mishnah, which is in certain instances, it says it separates this pasuk into certain criteria. It uses this pasuk to show who is obliged to be an aid. Who aid hefshel aidus, someone that is able to be an aid. So let's say someone that is a gambler could be easily manipulated. So someone like that cannot be a kosher aid. It's that, or a family member is not a kosher aid. V'shama lahiti is okay. So that's then v'shama, someone that hears. Obviously, that means someone that cannot hear, someone that does not hear things. So such a person does not have this obligation to be aid. Oiro, or someone that sees, like this as a summa, someone that cannot see is also not. Oyoda, someone that knows, lahiti is afshaita. Someone that knows, it's to negate someone that is not of sound mind. So then, someone that, and then it says someone that doesn't speak. That means that someone that's not able to speak. Someone that's not able to speak is also not. Actually, just by the way, the Ksav Sefer, the Ksav Sefer, which is the son of Sam Sefer, he once went to a house that had a lot of people that were not able to speak, but they were having sign languages. They were speaking with sign language, so he told them to go out and get tefillin. Meaning that being that they have a language, they do have a language. When he was able to realize that there's such a thing, so therefore they're not potter from mitzvahs anymore. Okay.
Nowadays it's much better, all the sign language.
Right, and this was in the 1700s. That was by the 1700s. Okay. Okay.
So this is an obligation, but the mitzvah if you're not asked, or only if you're asked to testify.
I'm not sure. I didn't look into it. Okay, so now the Gemara takes from this Tosefta and this pasuk. Number 6. Everyone is obligated to go to be oile regel, besides a cheresh, someone that's deaf mute, or a shota, or a minor. So now the Gemara actually says Ezel shota. Ezel shota. What is it? They're trying to define what this means. And actually, that same Gemara goes into Ezel katan, etc. So here's to give some. Anywhere else in Gemara, it does not talk about what is Oshayta. It's the one place where that we know what is it trying to define what is Oshayta. So now it gives example. Someone that goes alone at night, or sleeps in a cemetery, or walks around without clothing. Itmar Avuna, or someone that rips his clothing, right? So then Rav Huna says, Itmar Rav Huna, Archi Kulum Basachas, but Rav Yochanan Amar Afilu Bachas Mian. So there's a machlekes if someone needs to have all these three instances to be counted as a shayta or one. Let's see what I know. So
I understand one thing, Glenn, Bebet HaKvarot doesn't want nobody to bother him. Go to Bebet HaKvarot and sleep. Nobody bothers him.
Very good. That's what the Gemara answers. Like, what's going on over here? Very good. You could feel comfortable in the. You could feel comfortable around these great. Okay. So what's going on? What's this argument between Rav Yochanan and Rav Huna? If one is in a way of shtus, in a shtus type of way, so therefore we go back. We haven't defined what shtus even means yet. Because we say if someone does it in a way of shtus, then even one is enough. And if he does three and in a regular way, in a normal way, that is totally fine. So now we get back. So and how's the loylam the ka'avid l'hu derech shtus? It's the answer. The Gemara answers that really it's talking about any one of them is derech shtus. Ba'alam v'esakfaris shetisha ala ruach tuma. Hu de ka'avid v'yitzi yichid ba'layla imer gan deripas achdei achasayim ruba machshavesu kilin avdinu dekulu havalu. So the Gemara gives examples where each of these three instances could, if a person could explain how it's a totally normal thing. If someone sleeps in a Beis HaKvaris, it could be that he's doing it to take away Ruach Tuma, etc. Of the other three things. If someone rips his clothing, it's because he's a Bal Machshavas, someone that is engaged in thought. And because of anxiety, he tears his clothing unintentionally. So all these things. So we're back to Kamisha Nagar Shechamar. Okay, well, let's skip that one. So the Gemara does not. Oh, Yivaylu ki have page, the third page. Yivaylu ki have hadar bay mikrostasehu have hadar bay nedam laha ay dilmo mekul have. So the question is, the question is when Rav Huna says, when Rav Papa says that Rav Huna would have retracted his statement that even one is enough, even one of those things are enough, doesn't mean that that having one normal, the two others.
But he retracted it only if it was on one of them was done in a mentally ill way. In other words, it had to have been. It's either. Right.
But then, what is mentally? Gemara doesn't define what mentally ill is. That's what the Gemara shows. It starts off Ezo Shota.
We don't know what Shota.
We don't know. So
well, the Gemara does say that there's a rational explanation for why they do things, but there is also obviously an irrational explanation. It gives the rational explanation. I went through this Gemara. I'm learning this Gemara. I went through the Marashah. The whole thing is about whether or not it's done in an intentional way that has a reason, a kavanah. And the Rishonim talk about that in this case. What is the kavanah? What is the purpose? Like you said, if it's to clean out a bad spirit, or if he's intentionally ripping his clothes because he's just very anxious, those are rational explanations. So that at the same time, the opposite side, there has to be an irrational explanation. If it's irrational, then.
But we don't get there. We don't know the irrational. We don't know the irrational yet. We don't know what constitutes. When does it go off of the rational. If someone explains it in an irrational way, what if he actually doesn't have ruach ra? He doesn't have a what's the word? He doesn't have like evil spirit in him, but he still claims that he has an evil spirit, and therefore he goes and sleeps in the cemetery.
So we don't know what's in his head.
And then we're taking his word for it. So yes, we'll get there. We're okay. I only looked straight into the halachis.
Shota has edge. Doesn't make difference how old he is.
What?
A Shota.
Age.
Somebody
Age.
Shota. Is 10, 50, 20, that the Gemara
The
given
only thing is after a katan,
Yeah.
because a katan automatically is not a bardas because he doesn't realize.
So Shota has to be after Bar Mitzvah.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
I
That makes
assume.
sense. Yeah.
So if we
Okay.
retracted the statement.
So the question is, okay, the point of it is that this whole Gemara finishes off Teku. We don't really know. So if he explains one of the episodes in a rational way, does that take away all the other episodes which he does not, or does he have to explain each irrational thing? So Teku. So therefore, that gives actually, I'm thinking that gives some credence to the possibility that there's times that someone is rational and sometimes it's not. That's also, that there's a possibility, but we're not there yet. Right. So now the Rambam, which gives even more examples. So Shota pasuk le'edus min haTorah. This is actually in Hilchos Edus, because that's where the pasuk, that's the original pasuk in Vayikra, is about Edus. So Shota pasuk le'edus min haTorah tishe'enu b'mitzvos le'shota shu mahalach orum v'shav kelim v'zerek avonim b'vad ala kol mi sheni tarpe or daitoi v'nitzas daitoi mishoyvesh is tamid v'davar min haForum apapi shehu medaber v'shoyel ki'inin v'shar dvarim ha'izeh pasuk u'b'chlal shotim yachshav. So the Rambam says that any of these instances, if someone goes around without clothing, or he destroys utensils, or throws stones,
If he talks
someone
to
is-
himself,
if someone-
to himself. Like when the trend today, hundreds of people talk to themselves.
and everyone has physical. I don't know. It's hard to say because it's a clinical thing. It's like someone needs to be like a doctor needs to evaluate. So you can't
Even
if someone is in a bad mood, what does that mean? Some people have moods. Someone could be in a very happy state. Like example, Reb Chaim Brisker, one of the greatest minds of all time. So Reb Chaim right? So Reb Chaim Brisker, Rabbi Soloveitchik of Yeshiva University. So he said about his grandfather, Reb Chaim Brisker, that during Yom Kippur, by the Avodah, in one paragraph, it talks about how wonderful it was when we would sit and watch the Avodah and then in one sentence it says, and now we don't have any of this, and look how horrible it is, etc., etc. So he remembers how Reb Chaim was like in such a happy state, and in a split second, just like this, in a split second. So what? And what are we going to say? Reb Chaim has any of these? I mean, it's just that's absurd.
But thank God we have a doctor in the house, so it's good.
Okay. So let's. Okay. So I'll skip. Okay. We don't have that much time. Okay. I guess. Whatever. So the Rambam finishes off. And then the Rambam finishes off. He finishes off, this matter is dependent on the judgment of the judge. It is impossible to describe the mental and emotional states of people in a text. So what? So now, a Rav is in a Bezdin, he's sitting on part of the Bezdin, and now all Torah does not give him they don't really tell them what does this mean. what does this mean? We don't really know.
He has to use his own judgment.
Right, judgment. And then,
But that's what the definition of a shofet, a true shofet, ultimately uses his own judgment. In this expression, shofet has to be of a pure mind. It has to have.
but he also needs to. But he also needs to uphold the law, which is that's very true what you're saying. But he also has to uphold the law, and if you,
But the law is not always so black and white.
Right,
you have
very
to
good.
use that your own intuition.
Right. But then But then in this story is a perfect example because one rabbi used his intuition, and then the other city didn't accept his intuition. Okay. And they okay. So. So now what happened was this city in Cleves, the rabbi over there made the get and everything was fine. But then the father of the chassan of Itzik, the father of Itzik, went to his rabbi in Mannheim, his own rabbi in Mannheim, and said, "Hey, this is not a real get because he wasn't of sound mind." So this rabbi of Mannheim went to the Beis Din of Frankfurt, which Rav Avram Abush was one of the Av Beis Din, he was considered one of the. He was like a great Rav and a great Makubal. He was looked at in high regard, and he said that it's hard to. I guess all these episodes beforehand was a proof that while he was giving a get, it's impossible to say that at that time he was actually of sound mind. And in halacha, we'll say later. Okay, over here in the Kesef Mishnah explains the Rambam, because the Rambam originally says that if one time he is not of sound mind, so then even when he becomes of sound mind, we still don't allow him to give a get. But then the Kesef Mishnah explains on page 4, when the Rambam declared a person bereft of reason for acting abnormally in only one area, it was only when he did this abnormal act in a senseless fashion. Even when he acted in a senseless fashion on one occasion, he is still not considered bereft of reason until he is constantly behaved in this senseless fashion. So it has to take time. It's not just like having episodes at one time. If he's totally cognizant of what's happening. And this rabbi in Cleves realized that he asked him questions, but the truth is that the rabbi in Cleves did not know the whole backstory. Did not know that this Itzik ran away on Shabbos with gold coins. So he didn't know the complete story.
He
didn't know all the details, but he didn't.
But the question really remains. This is a question that's very plagues a lot of authorities. Is that you have to find that right moment. If the woman wants a divorce because the man is mentally ill, which she has a right to get, she wants to get out of this marriage because the guy's a nutcase, then she has to wait for that moment in time when he's considered normal and give the get. That time, sometimes.
At that time, it wasn't so obvious in the halachic world that that's the way to go. By now, like Rav Moshe, there's
the famous from Rav Moshe.
Rav Moshe, it was totally no one went nuts over Rav Moshe's son. Rav Moshe passing, there was someone in Russia that believed that he was Mashiach,
right.
And this was in number 12, the page 4 on the end. It says some married man claimed that he was Mashiach. Because of this belief, he acted foolishly and constantly strove to read the Torah and to serve as the chazan. Even when the minyan didn't permit him to do so, he still fought to do these privileges. He traveled from city to city in order to correct the world. At times, he took the property of others and did not return them until the owners contributed to tzedakah. He climbed trees in order to preach to passers-by. He even appeared publicly without clothing, as he claimed that he was like Adam before the Chet. So all this came about because of his belief that he was Mashiach. So otherwise, in other instances, he was completely normal. So Rav Moshe had a meeting with him, and because he saw that at times he was completely normal, he paskined that this individual can give his wife a get when he is of sound mind.
Right, so that's the question. When if a person is not of sound mind ever, how can he give? I mean, I know a situation like this. she was able to get a get. He wasn't able to give. He wanted to remain married to her, and he was. Mamish a nutcase. Unfortunately, he lost it. He's constantly roaming the streets. But it took her a long time to get the get, because he had to find that one moment where he could say, you know what, if you don't want to be with me, fine, I'll give you a get. And that was it.
There is also a way of that's problematic, but there are instances where where the Rabbanim could show that, like to annul the original marriage, because. Like hardly ever. I mean, the rabbis don't feel that they're on such a level.
There's a famous case that where Greenblatt and Kalinetsky were that case, right?
There's also the whatever in the early 70s. There's the whatever. But there's it's hard. It's hard to. There are cases that it won't. It's a possibility that it won't work out. There's also a possibility that's a very small percentage sometimes. But okay, so so now let's get.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is it possible for the woman to never get a get if the man is mentally ill forever? Because he'll never be of sound mind. That means you can never get him to.
It's very hard to find such a case, but in theory, yeah. I mean, unless they find how.
There are always ways. There are always ways.
There's people that are mentally ill that they're not gonna get
That's
of
the
sound
whole
mind.
question. But they're
That way forever.
I don't know.
You're never gonna catch them
no,
at a
but
moment where they can be of sound mind.
the halacha allows for this situation that where people can come around and do an intervention and say, no, your wife needs to get. You're normal now. Sign, kind of forcing it, not. But he would do it. I mean, it's unusual, very rare that somebody would, a woman who wants a divorce because the guy's mentally ill. It's very, very rare that
In some cases.
they don't find a way to get out.
I don't know. I haven't heard of a case that there's such a that it hasn't worked out. But that's whatever. Then there's also other, I've been in cases that's a whole different story. Okay, so.
Say if somebody has a stroke and they're not, cognitive anymore.
But there's also a way to annul the marriage. It's very hard. Whatever. There is a possibility that, like, if the wife would have known,
That would have stroke in 20 years.
or if there was a way to, like, that it wasn't that it was but he didn't know. Right, something like that he can't have children. Whatever, there's some. Okay, put it this way here. I'll give an example of something Rabbi Yosef. You heard of Rabbi Yosef? He's a very special Jew, right? And now he's even a greater. Okay, so Rabbi Vanya, there was actually a statement that just came out of some of his truvas. So there was someone that found out that his mother was originally married to someone earlier, but didn't get a get. So now it's possible that he's a mom. What's going on over here? So what he found out, so Rabbi Vanya checked either he checked the video of the wedding or something. Somehow he found out that one of the Eidim was a lawyer. Was a lawyer that in American law, or like not like not a halachic lawyer. So this showed that he wasn't not completely religious, because by someone being a lawyer, that's showing like in the beginning of Mishpatim, you have the halacha like we can't asher tasem nitneim, that a person has to bring laws in front of Bezdin. So someone that goes to a non-Bezdin, it's as if he's showing that Hashem is not smart enough and can't get the good. So this annulled that wedding, that marriage, and therefore his mother was never married. Like anyone.
70s.
This was, I don't know. This was just it was just printed, so I don't know when it was, but something like that. No one ever. But he tried. He obviously that means that there was no other way to get out of this problem. But this is a big deal.
There's a child from a forbidden marriage.
Never married. So the marriage originally wasn't even a marriage, according
It's
to.
not mamzer, but it's not the
First
legit
marriage.
It wasn't the first marriage wasn't really a marriage because it wasn't completely a marriage because well at least to certain
Is he
people.
Motzi laws and all
Some
lawyers?
I guess it's in Hebrew.
Lawyers don't necessarily.
That's a good question.
Most lawyers.
Some people, I don't know if I can say, but some rabbis specifically, in some cases, they specifically find a way to make sure that the Eidim are somehow not kosher. Because if someone goes to a certain city where he knows that there will probably be some.
No, Rabbi.
I guess I don't know. It's a good question, but I'm guessing that having this poor guy being mamzer is a lot worse. It was after he passed away already. So I don't know. It could be someone. I don't know, but either way, it's important for future generations to have this precedent. But obviously, I mean, I don't know. I know lawyers that are good people. Plural. I know 2 lawyers. I'm not all. Okay. 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 So look, in Shulchan Aruch Evna Ezer, here's an exact replica. Mishu itim cholin, itim Shota. Someone that is occasionally sick and occasionally foolish when sick. He is considered a sharp-sighted for all his words. And if under his condition he gives a get to his wife, this expulsion is considered a valid divorce, even if he is sick unknowingly and not completely sane. If someone is sometimes, only sometimes, not of sound mind, when he is of sound mind, then it's fine. Then it's a real get. But okay, so what happens here? I'll just skim through fast. What happened? Actually, this is I don't know. Anyone know Aaron Rakefet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to be my teacher.
Really? I like him a lot. So he when he was a student, he wrote a paper. He got his doctorate was on this story.
Ooh.
So it's in then he printed it in his book. But what happened was so now this Frankfurt Besdin ended up just being the one Besdin that said that it wasn't a real get. The Shagas Aryeh came out with a tshuva saying that it was a good get. The Noda B'Yehuda came out with that it was a good get. Who else? Rabbi Yaakov came out that it was a good get. Okay, so then, but what happened was the woman
What happens now? Didn't they want to get him?
She's Shvira Mary, according to the other.
Right.
The Bezdin, the Rebbe Frankel, was the preeminent Bezdin. So they were das
That's
Yachid.
right. So how did he rob him? Did they get to it?
right really so. The real question is, and why didn't they just allow the Cleves Besdin to Paskin and that's it? There's never the Frankfurt Besdin didn't have jurisdiction over Cleves, so they can't override a different ruling. They don't have precedent over Cleves, so whatever. But they were originally just trying to be pious, but that was in the Noda B'Yehuda said a speech in his shul, complaining, whatever. But so Leah didn't get married, didn't get remarried, because she wanted to wait till the Frankfurt Besdin says that it's okay. So she never got married. She never got remarried. But then the Isaac, he came back from England, and he was totally of sound mind. And he came back, and they had a wedding, a second wedding. And under the chuppah, he say Hareat Oid Mekadesh Asli, without a bracha. He said that you are still my wife with this ring. So then they married and
Did they have children?
I don't know, but I guess so. That's crazy. So what do we learn from this story? I don't know that Torah is very interesting. Yeah.
support Klal Yisrael and the other man.
So actually, some people say that this argument, this was in the late 1700s. It was actually 1776, so the late 70s. But this was one of the reasons why there became a disconnect between the rabbis and the regular Yidden, and which brought about the Reform movement.
Oh wow, really? Wow.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. What?
Some people claim that this was one of the reasons why the Reform movement became big. Because the rabbis became so because rabbis are looked up to, but then when they're arguing so vehemently and for so long, it seems to be that they're not as holy as they are. At that point, like there was a crazy. This people in Frankfurt loved their Bezdin. They said that anyone that writes a tshuva against the Frankfurt Bezdin is not allowed to be part of our Bezdin ever. Not going to be part of our Bezdin, and we're not going. And they burnt the night of Yehuda's farm. They burnt the night of Yehuda's farm. They burnt the night of Yehuda's farm. So then in Frankfurt. Yeah. Then this Frankfurt.
Germans were like that.
So then, wait. So then, what happened was the Rav that became the Av Bezdin afterwards. He was originally going to write. He was writing a tshuva, but then he made a mistake in the tshuva, so he didn't publish it. And then he became the Bezdin. He became the Av Bezdin in Frankfurt afterwards because he didn't. Even though he did hold against it, but he didn't publish it by mistake. Because of the mistake. So
he didn't hold against. He wasn't in favor of the Bezdin's paskin of his get. He wasn't
right. Yes. But you could check out this book. It has all the details. You get it from like Shota.